Virgil wrote that 2,000 years ago, and every generation since has felt the same subtle acceleration underneath them. But the strange part is, the clock has not changed at all. A year is exactly as long now as it was when you were 7. What has changed is how much of each year your mind actually records. And once you see that clearly, the whole feeling starts to make sense. You know this feeling from the inside. A single summer as a child could feel like an entire era. Long, slow, almost endless. Now a whole year can pass in what feels like a season. You look up and somehow it's autumn again. And you were honestly not sure where the months went. This video is about why that happens, and it's one of the most reliable experiences of being human. There's even a genuinely unsettling consequence of it that I will get to later in the video. That by a reasonable estimate, in terms of how you actually experience time, you may have already lived more than half of your life far earlier than you would ever guess. Stay with me because that sounds bleak, and it turns out to be close to the opposite. This phenomenon of the fluidity of time is just a result of how the mind measures time. And once you understand the mechanism, you also get, for free, the method to slow it back down. I will give you that method toward the end, 4 concrete ways to make your years feel long again. But first, the 2 reasons a year seems to shrink as you age, starting with a simple piece of arithmetic that reframes your whole life. The first reason is proportional, and a French philosopher named Paul Genet described it back in the 1800s. The idea is simple. We do not measure a stretch of time against a clock. We measure it without ever realizing against the total length of our own life so far. Think about what that means. To a 2-year-old, a single year is half of their entire existence, an enormous, unimaginable span. To a 10-year-old, a year is 1/10 of life. To a 50-year-old, that same year is 1/50th. The year itself has not shrunk, but the yardstick has grown enormously, so each new year covers a smaller and smaller portion of the whole. This single idea has a startling consequence. If each year feels shorter in proportion to your age, then your felt experience of time is heavily weighted toward the beginning of your life. By this way of measuring, the subjective halfway point of your life, the midpoint of your actual felt experience of it, comes not at 40, but somewhere in your early 20s. In other words, in terms of lived, felt time, your childhood and youth may account for far more of your life than the calendar suggests, which sounds like grim news. And this is actually where the second, more useful explanation comes in, because it's the one you can actually do something about. The proportional theory explains part of it, but not all. There is a second mechanism, and it's the more important one. It has to do with how your mind decides, in hindsight, how long a period of time actually was. Here's the key. When you look back and judge how long a stretch of your life felt, your mind does not consult a clock. It counts memories. A period densely packed with vivid, distinct memories feels long in retrospect. A period with few new memories feels short. It collapses almost to nothing. And the single thing that reliably creates a vivid, lasting memory is novelty, something new, a first. Now, consider your childhood. Almost everything is a first. Your first day of school, your first real friend, the first time you rode a bike, saw the ocean, stayed up all night, felt your heart break. Those years are crammed with first, so they are crammed with memories. And looked back on, they feel vast. Now, consider a typical adult year. You wake at the same time, take the same route, do similar work, see the same people, and go to sleep. Weeks are near copies of one another. Very little is genuinely new, so very little gets encoded as a distinct memory. And a year with few distinct memories looked back on feels like it barely happened at all. This is why the years seem to accelerate. You don't have less time, you are simply recording less of each passing year. Routine works as a kind of erasure, pleasant, comfortable, and almost invisible as it compresses whole months into a blur. There is a neat wrinkle in all of this that seems at first to contradict everything I've just said, and resolving it is what makes the whole picture click into place. The science writer Claudia Hammond called it the holiday paradox. Think about a week away somewhere new, a real vacation, full of unfamiliar streets and new experiences. While you are living it, the days often feel like they are racing past. But when you get home and look back on the week, it feels enormous, as if it lasted far longer than 7 ordinary days. Now compare a routine week at home. In the moment, it can feel slow, even a little tedious. But look back on it a month later, and it has almost vanished. You can barely tell it apart from any other week. The resolution is that you are running 2 different clocks at once. One measures time as you live it, moment to moment. The other measures it in hindsight by counting memories. Novelty makes the first clock feel fast, and the second clock feel long. Routine does the reverse. And the clock that decides whether your life felt long or short is the second one, the one built entirely from memory. Which means the feeling that your life is speeding up works as a readout of how much novelty is currently in it. Not a fixed sentence you are stuck with, but a dial you can actually turn. Here is how to turn that dial. Here is the genuinely hopeful part. Because subjective time is built from novel memories, you have far more influence over how long your life feels than the calendar would ever suggest. You cannot add years to your life at will, but you can make the years you already have feel dramatically longer. 4 things do exactly that. The first is to deliberately introduce novelty. Since new experiences are what create the memories that lengthen time, routine is the enemy of a long-feeling life. Take a different route home. Eat somewhere you never have before. Rearrange the room. Travel somewhere unfamiliar, even if it is close by. You are not only having fun, you are laying down the memories that will make this year feel like it truly lasted. The second is to keep having firsts on purpose. The reason childhood felt so long is that it was full of first times, and most adults simply stop having them. So choose to keep them coming. Learn a skill that is completely new to you. Visit a country you have never seen. Do the thing you have always been slightly afraid of. A single genuine first can anchor an entire year in your memory. The third is to pay real attention, because distraction erases the hours while full attention records them. While you move through your days on autopilot, half watching a screen, almost nothing gets encoded. When you are genuinely present, actually tasting the meal, actually listening to the person in front of you, the moment is recorded in far more detail. And detailed moments are what a long-feeling life is built from. The fourth is to mark time actively. Keep a few photos. Write a line at the end of the day. Note the milestones as they pass. This does 2 useful things at once. It forces you to register that time is passing, and it creates a record you can return to, which, when you revisit it, restores the length of periods that would otherwise have blurred together. Put the 2 mechanisms side by side, and the picture is complete. Time feels faster as you age for 2 reasons. Each passing year is a smaller fraction of the life you have already lived, and more importantly, your years steadily fill with routine, which your mind barely records, so they collapse in memory. The acceleration you feel is really a measure of how little is now new. But that same mechanism is the way out. A life feels long in proportion to how much of it you remember, and you remember what is new, vivid, and fully attended to. Fill your years with first times and real presence, and they lengthen again. Not on the clock, but in the only place time is ever actually felt, your memory. So the strange accelerating feeling works less like a countdown you are helpless against, and more like a gauge, telling you honestly how much genuine life you have been packing into your days. And the moment you add something new, the gauge responds. Time slows, and the year gets its length back. And that unsettling fact from the start, that you may have felt half of your life by your early 20s, turns out not to be a sentence either. It is only true if the second half stays on autopilot. Fill your days with genuinely new experiences, and the back half of your life can feel longer than the front. Which is, when you think about it, an extraordinary thing to be able to choose. If this video gave you a new way to see your own time, give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know the moment each new episode appears out of the blue.